Hello. Welcome,
Hi.
everyone. Hi. I am so excited for today's conversation with Amy T. Wan. Amy is someone who I've admired for a long time. I've been on her newsletter list, and she sends out these magical missives filled with wonder and joy. And she is this incredible artist. Her art is so beautiful. It's like something, of course, I'll share images of it so you can all experience it because it's hard to describe in words. It's more of an experience. She works, I believe, mostly with watercolors. I'll let her clarify in a moment. And she has an oracle deck, a journal, a school of walking. What is it? Walking the labyrinth?
Walking the labyrinth.
Walking the
Walk
labyrinth.
the labyrinth. Yeah.
Wonder walks. She's wonderful. And we're going to talk all about being filled with wonder and all the joys of nature and creativity and all the things. So with delight in my heart, I welcome you, Amy T. Wan.
Hi, Kari. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So I don't know if people even know how I plan these talks. I do it with the astrology. So right now, at the time of this recording, of course, this is going to be around forever, just like art is immortal, right? This conversation will continue to be around long after we say it, right? However, I like to plan these magical conversations along with the stars and the astrology. And right now we are in Taurus season. And Taurus is ruled by Venus, goddess of love, beauty, attraction, and art. And Taurus is an earth sign about beautifying the planet, beautifying the world we live in. And often people who have Taurus in their chart, I don't even know Amy's chart, but Taurus usually about like working with the earth, like crafts that involve the hands or plants or pottery and things that have to do with the earth. So I knew that I wanted to bring Amy on at this time because of that. So Amy, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I want people to, in your words, understand what you do. And I know you can't even describe it in a short amount of time, but if you can just share
I'll
in
try.
your words what you do.
I love the way you described the Taurus season, primarily because I might have mentioned this, but I am a double Taurus.
I did. Oh, that's right. You did tell me that.
Very briefly in our multiple email exchange, just because you mentioned, it's Taurus season. I'm like, oh yeah, I am a double Taurus. So I am a Taurus moon and rising. So I think it's very timely, and I have been reading about the new moon in Taurus this past day and just doing some journaling on it. So yeah, I feel very aligned with you right now. Especially about being grounded to earth. And spring is coming, so there's a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of little shoots of abundance in the air. And we live in upstate New York in Ithaca, so it's very, very beautiful this time of the year. So definitely beauty is just like in your face right now.
I love that. Yeah, I know spring, and here in the Northern Hemisphere, my gosh, spring is just wow.
Yeah, it can be amazing. I just came back from Japan, which was also incredible. We were there for the cherry blossom season. So cherry blossoms are in my head right now, and I am also seeing it all around me. And I'm an artist, and my thing is wonder, right? I have a wonder school. I made a deck called the Deck for Wonder Walking. So it is about reconnecting people to their sense of wonder. And so it's something that I'm very sensitive to. I do primarily work in water media, watercolors, watercolor ink, sometimes acrylic ink, gouache. and on paper mostly, although I do paint with oils on canvas with bigger paintings. I am in my current phase of my artistic journey where I'm really sort of developing tools for helping others find and awaken their own sense of wonder.
I love that. And first of all, I want to say, like, it's so interesting that during Taurus season that you have this double Taurus, even though it's not your sun sign. See, people don't even know, like, right? There's so much more to a birth chart.
Yeah.
That actually always awakens my sense of wonder, this sense like, how is it that the day we're born is so aligned with our purpose? It's like you have to marvel at the universe, like the intentionality of it. And I love that you are so aligned with your birth chart. And so your moon is like how you want to express what's inside of you in a very personal way. And it's like your instinct, and your instinct is to create and beautify. And I want to talk about what wonder is, because that's your whole, like, we talk about things being wonderful. So what does that mean to be wonderful and to be full of wonder? What is that?
That's a big question. It's been a while since I've answered this question. I mentioned this briefly before we started recording, but wonder really is a spiritual state of mind for me. Mm-hmm. And for me, being in a state of wonder is also where my creative magic comes from. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, especially today, I think we're all so busy and we're staring at our screens a lot, and we're juggling different things with our families and work. We don't take the time to slow down and notice. And I feel like, so there is the wonder that we all recognize, right? This beautiful, majestic mountains. Like I used to live on the coast of California. So when you talk about wonder, you talk about that like amazing, breathtaking sunset over the cliffs. That's just a very recognizable wonder.
Oh yeah, you have to wonder how that's, yeah.
I mean, it's something that we know, okay, that is amazing, that's enchanting, that's wondrous, that's awe-inspiring, right? This is something we all know. But wonder is also the glimmers in the everyday. You know, finding, like, taking a walk and seeing this tiny little flower come up. All mushrooms out of a mushroom log. We have a pile of mushroom logs in the back of our garden. And it's also being in a state of curiosity, because wonder also means asking questions, looking around, paying attention.
Like, I wonder why.
I wonder why.
Yeah. I love that whole play on the words like that. I wonder why this is like that.
Right. And so wonder to me is really where, at least for me, creativity is born from, right? Like a lot of times when I speak to other artists and I ask them what are the, like recently I met with a really, one of my favorite Instagram artists, Tyler Tresher, and he was giving a talk at the Corning Museum of Glass. And he said there's 3 things that he will invite young emerging artists to do. And he said, pay attention, ask questions, look around. I mean, essentially, just wonder, right? Yeah. Wonder, be in a state of wonder, but also ask questions, be curious, follow your curiosity, see where it leads you. And that's not as, it's easily defined, but not easy to practice, because it takes a presence of mind to do something like that, but also a willingness to let go and be receptive to your experiences around you. And I know it's not easy to just shut down and be still these days. And a lot of times, in order to experience wonder, we have to sort of create stillness around us and put away our phones and walk into nature.
Yeah. Well, it's actually the opposite of shutting down, isn't it? It's opening up. I think when we're busy, we're actually shutting down.
Right. It's easy to shut down, right?
Senses. Mm-hmm. So it's like shutting down the noise, but you're actually opening to your senses. It's having a state of, it's like what we want to have that childlike quality where everything's like awesome. I know when I'm so frustrated about the world often, right? And I go on wonder walks every day. I live near a park that has like redwoods in it, right? So
Nice.
it's just our city park happens to have redwoods. And I'm always like, we live here. My gosh,
Yeah,
this is amazing.
it's amazing.
So the one thing that I always love is, well, I love birds. I think you and I share a love of birds, but it's the dogs. So like dogs, I'm always looking at the dogs and I'm like, you have no idea what's going on in the world, do you? Like they're just like living in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And so when part of like my walks, which I like to fill with wonder of like nature, is about reconnecting with these creatures who aren't burdened by what we are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's an interesting thought. Yesterday, so speaking of wonder walks, what I do in the morning as an anchoring ritual is I would draw a card from my wonder walking deck. And yesterday I drew a pair of cards. It was the sun and naivete. And one of the concepts I'm teaching in Walk the Labyrinth right now is the idea of beginner's mind.
Yes.
And so how a lot of in our lives, we walk around with a bag of rocks on our back. The thoughts we have every time something doesn't go well, if we made a painting and it didn't work out, or if somebody said something to us and we didn't like it, or things like that. So there's just a lot of stuff we just pile on, right? And then there's also a lot of knowledge, especially these days. You can know so much about everything. And sometimes that can be very stifling and overwhelming. And so one of the things I really like to do is to sort of let everything go. And so yesterday when I drew these pair of cards, the immediate thing that came to me is what would happen if, because it's the sun and the naivete card. So the sun for me is a masculine card. So it's about taking action. It's about doing the work. So the conversation I felt like these two cards were having with each other were, what if we do the work, but with a blank slate? Like, what if we released and surrendered everything we knew about something, about a project, about a painting, about something that's occupying our mind? Just release it and just start fresh and think about impossible ideas, which is one of the things that I'm on a mission to do. Right? I've reached a point in my creative journey where I've done a lot of things that were sort of a dream for me, like 10 years ago. I've achieved a lot of things as an artist. And so I reached a point where now I'm like, I know how to make things. I know how to get things out there. But then you stop thinking about impossible projects. About when as a child, we think about, if we could do this and this, if we could build this thing and it could fly, and you don't think about the constraints of science, of, gravity. You just let your mind wander. And there was a time when I felt I was at that part where at that part of my journey where I was able to let everything go, partially because I was naive and I didn't know how things work. But, partly because I was younger and haven't walked down this path of disappointments and all that. And so yesterday when I drew these pair of cards, and because I'm currently brainstorming what my next projects are, it felt really, I felt really unburdened to think about creativity in terms of what if I didn't know much? What if I released what I knew? What if I started fresh? What if I looked at things with a beginner's mind again? Like what would I make? What would I do? What would I take on? How would I tackle the problems that I'm trying to tackle right now if I was unburdened by the criticisms that I place on myself or the expectations I place on myself as being an artist. Yeah. So I feel like that childlikeness that you're talking about is really important. And
well, that's what that's what you teach, right? Isn't that your whole thing?
Yeah.
First of all, I started out in my journey in the arts, not in the psychic realm. Although I always, as a child, had an interest in all things psychic, but I did theater. I write children's books, and it's through that process that I learned how to be psychic.
Ooh, and very interesting. Yes, yeah. I can see how you would get there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because I see the process of creativity and the process of being psychic and intuitive as the same process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it involves trusting the unknown.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to have a sense of naivete to access this stuff. You can't come in there thinking, I know what I'm going to say. You absolutely. And even in this conversation, people are always like, if I invite a guest on, such as yourself, everyone's like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. Like, let's just see what, I mean, I have intentions. You have to come in with an intention.
Yeah, intentions. Yeah.
Yeah. So my intention for today was like, I want to talk about creativity as a spiritual act.
Yep.
And also because we are in a critical moment on the planet, how creativity can save us.
I have so much thoughts on that.
And that's why I wanted you on. So please.
I have so much thoughts on that.
Please talk about that.
How creativity can save us.
Yeah.
I do feel that one of the scariest things that's happening to us right now is that we are not making enough time to listen to ourselves. And what I mean by that is we are so easily distracted by everything out there. And, with AI, there's a lot of fake stuff out there. There's a lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of things right now, and it's all happening so fast that our human minds have not evolved to handle it. Like the stuff that we used to think was like accept as truth is like now we have to question it. If we look at a photo, or a video, increasingly videos, we have to question whether what we're looking at is real. And it's a beautiful picture, but what if it's like your mind has to be a lot more discerning now. Yeah. At the same time, AI is allowing us to do a lot of things that we can't do before, right? And so, and then all this information. So there's all these things happening at the same time that I feel is making us kind of lazy a little bit to use our brains. Definitely. And we're not thinking critically. We're not using our creativity as much because like all these things have happened to make things easier for us. And at the same time, we don't have the time. We are not making time because we're busy. We're distracted to create enough stillness to listen to our inner voices, to our intuition, to our inner guidance. So we are losing our originality and we're losing our creativity. We're losing our creative thinking skills. And so the problems are getting bigger, like the world's problems are getting bigger, but we're getting less and less creative. We're not communicating. We're not talking to each other. And so like there are problems to be solved. Like I personally, and I am aware of this, I personally find it difficult to sit down and focus on the project because there's 100 different things vying for my attention that if I am not mindfully shutting them out, then I'll not get the things I want done. And writing, I imagine like, people who are writing books, because writing is a different thing than painting. Writing, you have to be 100% there. Painting, you can listen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can
Well,
listen.
it's all channeling. It's just how you're channeling. But yeah.
Right. But I mean, it's channeling, but I feel like with painting, because I've written and I've painted, and I find
Yeah.
writing, it's, you have to be, you can't write, like, at least for me, and a lot of people, you can't write with the music on, watching the
No,
TV, but you can
writing
paint.
is so hard.
You have to be 100% present.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's just a representation of how problem solving on different levels can be, right? So it's very difficult right now to do deep work. And Cal Newport talks about it a lot. So doing deep work is harder than ever right now. Our brains are less capable, becoming less capable. We aren't as intuitive as we could be. I mean, obviously there are people who are going the extreme because they recognize this, but you have to put in the effort. So I feel like we have to go back and really teach ourselves to be creative. Like,
Absolutely.
we really have to go back to the foundation.
Yes.
I have to teach my students that, hey, you know, you need to go out and get firsthand experiences. You can't just rely. It used to be like 10 years ago when I did my walk. Sorry, it's getting darker in my room. When we 10 years ago when I launched Walk the Labyrinth, my worry was Pinterest boards. Everybody's just looking at Pinterest boards. And now Pinterest board is so quaint. It's so quaint. It's such a cute little retro thing. Right? Right now we're not even worried about Pinterest boards. We're worrying about algorithms showing us only things that they think we want to see. And so we get stuck in this bubble of sameness. We're only seeing the same stuff. So we're not getting unless we seek it, our brains are not making these interesting connections because we are being exposed to different ideas, contradictory opinions, or just different things like we used to.
False things, yeah. And art imitates life and life imitates art.
Right.
So it is super important to be creating things. I got angel bumps when you mentioned about how, like, oh, I have so many strong feelings about this because it can sound very quaint talking about wonder walking and art and like channeling and things and even intuition. It just sounds it is very beautiful. It's important though.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yes. And
it has a big import in how we're shaping our collective future.
Oh, so much. And I feel like more than ever as artists, it is our duty because we will I feel as creatives and spirit workers, you feel it first. You feel it first because we're so sensitive. And creatives, artists, and spirit workers are particularly sensitive and empathetic. And so you feel everything first. And if we're not the people doing the things, if we're not the people making others aware, then who's going to do it? We feel it first.
We're seeing who's doing it, right? Like, we don't want the tech bros shaping our future.
I don't want that. They've already done enough damage.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, they are shaping our future in many ways. And you see even like that, with how media is so important in terms of like politics, right? Even so it's all about media and what gets into people's. So I want the creatives to shape the algorithm of our consciousness.
Yeah. I like that. The algorithm of our consciousness.
Because art imitates life, life imitates art. And so I feel like one of the things that's happened in the past couple of years, because life has gotten so much harder, is that people have collapsed into a sense of feeling like, what can I do? I actually saw, this is where art was, this is just one image that I saw that made me laugh. And I remember it all the time. It says, what can I do by myself? Said 7 billion people. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we all, it's that sun thing. So I love that you got the sun and naivete, because I feel like that applies to everything that we're talking about today. It's like how you're radiating, how you're sharing your light, like what actions are you taking to bring this sense of joy and wonder. And so because life has gotten so hard on the outside, I feel like myself and maybe other people listening can relate to this. Like you have to find those moments, those simple moments of joy.
Yeah.
And you have to imagine a better future
Yep.
and take that action toward creating it. I am not wanting to use this moment to say, what can I do? Everything's against us. I want to use this and be like, where are the creatives? Let's make this. Actually, you know what? My husband was telling me there's downtown Portland has a lot of issues, and a lot of big businesses have abandoned downtown Portland and
Yep.
Oregon, where I live. And it's been very hard for the city. And
Mm-hmm.
someone from Detroit, like a lot of these Midwestern cities have had so many renaissances. I used to live in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a town that's had like so many renaissances and still is in this renaissance. And Detroit is one of those things. And they had a consultant from Detroit say, you need to bring the artists downtown. Have them fill those empty buildings with art, have them make it beautiful, and have people come down there, have pop-ups. So it was like creativity that can save communities.
I mean, if you observe the trajectory of cities or even like parts of cities, it always follows the artists.
Artists.
Like Brooklyn,
Yeah.
back when it was cheap, it was the artists that started, that inhabited first, and then it got really cool because the artist community
cool.
made it. Yeah, they made it cool. San Francisco was like that.
Yeah.
And then once it got expensive, then these creatives and artists are forced to move out.
Yeah.
To somewhere else, and then you would see the place getting blender.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the character leaving it a little bit, getting more expensive, and it flattens out a little bit. But I've noticed this for a while, that often the best parts of a city is the most vibrant part, where the artists are. That's very true. And that's cool that an actual like urban consultant is saying the same thing.
Yeah. So we need to do that with the planet.
Yeah.
The creatives are so like have the stillness, right? Shut out the noise of all these parts of the world that are like, okay, everything's terrible. So we're like, okay, let's come in there. Let's the artists come in and vision a better future and create it.
Yeah. And I think not only can artists do that, but I feel like as artists, if we show and teach people how to be in that state of mind, right? How to be open-minded and flexible and creative. And I think it also helps other people who don't consider themselves.
That's right. Because we are all creators. So can you share with us some ways or a way to get into that state of wonder and receptivity and creativity?
Yeah. And so I talk about this a little bit in my Explorer's Journal to Wonderworking. There's a passage at the back there where I discuss why this work is important to me. And one of the things, like we talked about this a little bit just a bit ago, where it's becoming really hard for us to find that kind of stillness because we're so distracted all the time to listen to our inner voice. And because of that, a lot of times people make wrong decisions. They don't think for themselves, or they get persuaded and they're not thinking critically as they should be. They're not being discerning, and they're being easily persuaded by things that if they had taken the time to think about, maybe their inner guidance will guide them a little bit more. And so I feel like the practice of wonder walking really is the easiest way to to reconnect to that part of us. And all the wonder walking practice is a contemplation practice. It's a spiritual practice. It's a time to disconnect from all our screens, to step outside, and to allow ourselves to be enchanted by nature. And it doesn't have to be in nature. It could be in a neighborhood, and you walk out, maybe it's spring in downtown New York City, or it's spring in Portland, Oregon, and look out for the birds chirping, for the flowers that are blooming on the trees, for all the little things that put a smile on your face. And that's it. That's being in a state of wonder. And often that leads to other things, right? You could be looking at something and realize, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, like when I was in Japan, I was so enthralled by the cherry trees. And so I started thinking about them a lot. And I was like paying attention to every time cherry trees were brought up somewhere. And I realized that I don't remember when I came upon it, but I discovered when I was in Japan that cherry trees symbolize contemplation. So it's actually about contemplation when you sit under a cherry tree, or you think about cherry trees and cherry blossoms. So it was very poignant for me because I was teaching Walk the Labyrinth, and we were trying to create contemplative practices. We were trying to create, we were trying to wonder walk more and think deeply about ourselves as artists and where we want to go. So I think my one advice would be to just take some time every day. The best thing to do for me personally is when you get up in the morning, before you turn on your screens. It's very hard, but try to do this. Don't pick up your phone first thing in the morning. Just go and walk your yard, or walk the neighborhood, or walk your dog. And just, I'd like to pull a card. It doesn't have to be my deck. You can pull a tarot card, an oracle card. It's just to give you something to rest your mind on. You know, like how you rest your eyes on something when you're meditating. It's to rest your mind on so it doesn't wander. And for example, if
it doesn't wander, or it does wander?
It doesn't wander, wander. It doesn't,
so it wanders, but it doesn't wander.
Yeah, like you're keeping it. It's like with meditation can be difficult sometimes, right? Because your mind starts to wander, and then you have to bring it back.
Yeah, you're always
the same thing.
Your mind goes into all the problems,
all the problems.
And then you have to bring it back into the sense of stillness.
Yeah, and the stillness in the center. So it's the same thing with drawing a card. Mm-hmm. You have a prompt that you think about, you contemplate on, and as your mind wander, you can always bring it back. And if it wants to wander into ideas that the prompt is going to, then just allow it to freely go on. Mm-hmm. But it's just something to focus on. And this was especially helpful during the pandemic, when we were all forced to be confined to our little, in like our neighborhoods.
Right.
And so you were finding yourself walking the same path over and over again, and sometimes can get pretty boring. So drawing a card and pondering on it as you go for a wonder walk, it makes you see things anew. And you'll notice things that you haven't noticed before, because your mind doesn't remember them anymore because you've seen it 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would encourage people to try to introduce in their mornings as an anchoring practice. I get a lot of my ideas when I'm wonder walking. It doesn't even have to be a walk. I've done wonder rides, like on a bike. Yeah. I've done wonder drives, like when I love going on road trips, and I would drive and just, obviously paying attention to the road, but let my mind just let my mind wander, and it will usually start to tackle a problem. And it's, just like being in a shower. These are moments when your body is relaxing into the activity.
Yeah, why do we get so many great ideas in the shower? Why is that?
Yeah, because we're relaxed. We're relaxed, and it's like driving. You're doing one thing. Your mind is focused, and yet, but it's focused in a way that's it's in a good way, right? It's focused on a thing you're doing. Like when you're driving, you're focused on driving. When you pull a card from your deck, so you focus on the word. When you are showering, you're just focused on showering. And so it's a relaxed state of doing that it's not mentally heavy. And so it allows your mind to problem solve, to have to start connecting ideas and start noticing things. Yeah.
It's a right brain activity.
Yes, it is. And it's also what you need for creative flow. Mm-hmm. to get into, to kind of trigger that state of mind.
Do you have your card deck right next to you?
I do.
Can you, first of all, I want people to see it who are on the video. Yeah. Can you pull a card for us, you think?
Yes. Let's do that.
Okay, show us the process of you pulling a card. I mean, show us. I mean, some people are just listening. So,
no worries.
Again,
so this is a deck.
It's so pretty. Like, it's so, could you just like, for people watching, just show a few of these cards? So like, I don't think they can see, I don't think they can see just
Okay.
show a couple like, what?
That's Portal.
Oh,
It's my favorite card. Discernment.
Yeah.
And then we have Edges.
Move it. There you go. Edges. Yeah. Okay. So show us a process, and obviously we'll have a link to the deck in the description and all the beauty on your website and Instagram. Show us the process that you do, and do people need to pull a card to do a wonder walk, or can you just do it without a card?
You can do it without a deck. It's easier. It's like taking a shower or going on a drive. You have something to kind of loosely occupy your mind.
Yeah, something to focus on.
Something to focus on.
To bring your thoughts back into something of a creative intention. Okay, so go through the process of drawing a card so that we know how you do it.
So shuffle, right? However you like to shuffle, whether you shuffle normally or if you want to do a rifle shuffle. The easiest way that I like to start is just with drawing a card, one card. Obviously, there are other spreads you can do, but a single card is the easiest. And you shuffle, and then I like to cut the deck in half. Cut the deck in half, and then place the bottom half, and then I'll take the first card on the top.
I even like the sound of it.
I know, it feels good. I have a landmark.
Ooh, that's pretty.
That's a good
okay,
one.
so can you describe this is for people listening? Not that you can ever describe the magic of your artwork, but what it looks like and what this means.
So this is an intuitive painting. So I can't remember exactly when I did this one, but there's you can see sort of what looks like a little tree in here, like maybe blue skies, different things. Different people see different things in them. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to color people's opinions too much, but this is what I see in it. Mm-hmm. And so when you think of landmarks, we often think of buildings, right? Of when you go to a new city that you've never visited before, and then you think about, I remember this building, and so if I take a couple blocks, walk down these blocks, and I get lost, I can always place myself because I know where this building is.
A landmark,
right? So usually we think of landmarks like that. But in the olden days, when there were no buildings, people would establish landmarks in like the open landscape. Mm-hmm. And in the past, when we were much smarter about wayfinding, landmarks could be really, really subtle. And modern humans would probably get lost. But in the past, people got really good at recognizing landmarks. It could be just a small tree, could be a pile of rocks. It's so that you remember, whether you've passed a place and when you want to go back somewhere. And if you think about landmarks, you notice that when you're walking in a particular direction and you've placed a landmark, say this giant tree on the path, and you remember this giant tree in relation to the direction you're going and the things that surround it in the direction you're going, notice that when you come back the other way, it doesn't look the same.
That's true.
So these are the things that I want people to start thinking about when they think about the word landmark. Does it remind you of a building in a city? Does it remind you of a beautiful tree you pass by on your walk every day? And what do landmarks mean to you? Do they mean that you always find yourself back? And if you get lost, or is it something that you're able to orientate yourself from different angles? So you would place this definition of landmark in your understanding of physical space, but then you can also translate it to what it means in your metaphorical journey in life, right? What are your landmarks in life right now? What reminds you that no matter where, how or where you are in life on your journey and get lost, what always brings you back? Like a lighthouse could be a landmark, and lighthouses are symbols for a lot of people, right? It's a symbol to remind yourself that that's harbor, that's home, and you're going to be safe if you see it from a distance. You're not going to crash. So this is a cool one to ponder because it can be both a physical thing you see on your walk, but also a metaphorical or symbolic thing in your spiritual journey in life.
Yeah, because I think people feel very lost now. And because at the time of this recording, but I can't even imagine any time in the near future where it will feel different, where we have all these planets changing. And so like parts of our identities are getting lost and we have to have new identities emerge. But what is the thing?
Yep.
What is the thing that brings you back home?
Yes.
To yourself?
What is the thing that brings you back home? And this is something that we are exploring a lot in Walk the Labyrinth right now, because it is a journey of finding our way home, right? So what are your landmarks? Think of something that, and maybe like if you're an artist, paint it. I'm really into drawing trees. I've always been. So often trees have become like landmarks for my soul. But it could be recently I went to visit the Luray Cabins in Virginia, and so I'm starting to see under subterranean landmarks, underground, where it could be certain aspects of the caves that really sort of resonate. So it could be anything, and it's a fun creative exercise, but it is also something to rest your mind on, contemplate on as you're walking.
One of the things that I woke up with yesterday was that I haven't written in my journal for a while. And so, because I ran out of a journal, and so then I didn't get, so I've been like writing on like paper stuff. And then I was like, well, I really like the idea of just having an actual journal that's very beautiful. And so that to me, and then I was looking at old journals. I actually had some older ones that had some space in them. And I was like, well, I'm going to write in my older journals as me, my future self. And that was a landmark for me, is having a journal that brings me back to myself.
Yeah.
And so, I ask people to ponder that. What is that one thing that helps you find yourself?
Yeah.
So Amy, that said, this point in the podcast where I could talk to you forever, and I'm sure people want to listen to you forever. We'll probably want to have you back then, right? If you'd be willing to. But I'd like to always leave people with magic lesson, something that they can do, focus on. So what would you offer as a magic lesson for people to focus on, to reconnect them with their wonder or creativity or landmark?
Okay, so this is something that recently came up in my Walk the Labyrinth expedition. I've been pondering it a lot, so I want to share this little tip, this little magic lesson. The next time you go on a trip, or even if you decide to start a wonder walking practice and go on a morning wonder walk, maybe you're visiting family out of town and you're taking pictures, right? Because you see something you took some pictures. When you come back home and you're in your office or your studio, pull these pictures up and reflect on them. Because oftentimes we go on these trips and we take all these pictures, and maybe we'll write a thing or two when we're there, or we'll tell somebody about how our trip went, and then we put them aside and we forget about them.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't reflect on them. And I find like the most important part about going on adventures and going on trips and traveling is not so much finding the amazing things there and experiencing it. It's what you do with it when you come back. And so I encourage people to reflect on their adventures.
Even if it's a morning or, in my case, an evening wonder walk. Yeah.
Reflect on the adventures. It could be a journal entry. I like to do what I call a reflection spread, and with my cards, but you can do it with a tarot deck or oracle card deck. But basically, you would open you would look at your cards face up, and you would just, like with my cards is easy because these words are designed to sort of trigger feelings and emotions and memories. So what I like to do is I look at my cards face up, and I would just select cards that intuitively describe how I felt when I was on this walk, on this trip, on this adventure. And you'd be surprised at, like, some things would come up, like on trips that I've been, that I didn't realize that's what I noticed. And so you discover a little bit about yourself and about how you like to experience things when you reflect on your adventures this way. And the reason why I do it like this is because drawing a reflection spread is an exercise in intuition as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm allowing my subconscious to offer, thoughts and feelings that I would have forgotten or have not noticed that I formed when I was out.
I love that because it's a way of integrating, because I don't think we integrate enough.
Yep.
And it's like
Absolutely.
a visual journal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're
intuitive.
It's intuitive or free writing, right? You can also free write. You just free write what comes up for you. I like to do these with the cards because I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
And you might surprise yourself. Try it. You might surprise yourself how much your subconscious mind, your inner self, your spirit self notice that your physical person, outer self does not.
Yeah.
So
and we always talk about
clues.
that. That's why we have the Mercury retrogrades, because your brain is not catching up with things. So I love actively taking that time to integrate, reflect, and connect with your intuitive self. How beautiful. Amy, thank you so much. So can you share with everyone how people can find you?
Yeah, sure. I'm on amyt1.com, and I have a newsletter on my Wonder Missives that you can sign up with. You will also get a How to Adventure Like an Artist mini course.
I love that.
Which is fun. So if you sign up on my website, you will have access to that. You can also find me on Substack, AmyT1. I have Exploring It Chapman is my Substack, I guess, magazine.
Yeah.
I am also on YouTube, which is what I'm focusing on this year. I am going to be sharing a lot more videos on awakening creativity through wonder.
I love it. Yay. Thank you, Amy T1. And also, I wanted to remind people who listen to this podcast, if you haven't done it already, to like it, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to that channel. If you are on Apple or Spotify or one of these other mediums, to make sure to review it if you like it, because we need more creatives and light workers to find ourselves, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, so much.
So this helps us all. So anyway, make sure to check out Amy T1. And by the way, one other thing about your name before we go, because you told me your maiden name, I don't know if you want me to share it, but it also has 3 letters. So Amy is 3 letters, your maiden name is 3 letters, and Juan is 3 letters, which I think is interesting because 3 in numerology is the number of creativity.
What? No, I did not know this. How cool.
I know.
333. That is, I'm going to write this down. That is so awesome.
I know. I mean, I had to share. So
Thank you.
anyway, thank you, Amy, so much for sharing your creativity, your light, your wonderful self. And thank you all for listening. We love you, and see you next time. Lots of love. Bye for
Thanks
now.
for having me, Kari.
It was a joy. Bye for now.